Hello everybody, my name's James, and for the benefit of those listening to the audio, you're not listening to us, James. Cut, start again. Hello everybody, welcome to the Gameweek13 Deadline stream. My name's James, and this stream is brought to you in partnership with FPL Team, your best one-stop shop for all your future FPL planning. Particularly important when so many people look like they're going to go up in price tonight, so you can plan ahead for future moves. And I've kind of been doing that all week because I made my move last Saturday night buying João Pedro for GW13 last St. James. It's too late for a coffee, honestly. I line up this week: Raya, Porro, Gabriel, Hall is in reserve, 8 Nori, Captain Salah, I've been clear on that all week, Bumo, Palmer, Garnacho, 60% start. Jackson, João Pedro, Isak, Morgan Rogers first sub. No intentions to do anything else between now and deadline. My pass for next week, I have 2.5 in the bank, just inside top 50k. It's -4 for Saka, or if Nicholas Jackson gets booked, I might be buying Ollie Watkins, I think, going into this gaming. Bottom right hand corner of the screen, you'll see my predicted lineups for all 20 teams. There are some surprises within those predicted lineups, so maybe have a look at them. Left of me, you'll see my correct score predictions for all 10 games being played this game week, and that will spin round with my preference for captaincy. Salah, Palmer, Saka, Pedro, Bumo is my preference for the top 5. Right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see all the flag players. Next 5 fixtures for each team, according to FPL's FDR. And above that, and right here, you'll see the benching dilemmas. Where there are 2 players together, the player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order left to right, pages 1 to 4. And you'll also find some goalkeepers on page 5. I've got nothing else specifically to announce. So, over the next 55 minutes or so, I will get through as many of your questions as possible. Repeat / similar cues may well be skipped. If you are watching live now, or even if you're watching on repeat, please smash a like, hit the sub button. Let's do this. My friend Benny Blanco is first. Says, hello, stranger. How are you, darling? Do you think Brennan starts this weekend? Trying to work out whether taking a hit for Saka is worth it. Love you. Love you too, Benny. Yes. Predicting which Tottenham player will get left out this week is quite challenging. It won't be Dominic Solanke. It won't be Basuma. From the rest, it feels like anyone could miss out, and even slight chance it could even be Son. I think that what we know is, we know Maddison picked up a bit of a knock against Manchester City, and that's why he didn't start last night. And I just think we're really short of bodies at the moment, so I think he might be sub again, actually. Now, considering he's played less minutes than everyone else last night, that may feel wrong, but Son was taken off early, Johnson was taken off early, even Sarr was taken off early. Kulusevski is kind of the 90-minute man now. So I think it might be Maddison misses out again, actually. If it's not, then I think it'd probably be Sarr, then Johnson, then Son. That would be the kind of order of fear, if you will. I think he probably starts Benny. The one thing I'd always say about Brennan Johnson, I'm always really clear on this, he's as likely as anybody in this league to return as a substitute later in games. So he's not one you should fret about. He hits the ground running when he comes on. Tom Glover says, I'm planning to roll my transfer and play Vardy. What do you reckon his chances are of matching Pedro? Not great, mate. I'd be making the move personally, buddy. Jeez, I told Vardy weeks ago. I get it, he's got some more good fixtures on the horizon. I'd cut that. I know this could be a new manager bounce and that kind of thing. I'd cut that, mate. They're proper bland. KV says, hello, sir. Can I make it through this game week with the defence of Gabriel, Vardy, Lewis, Dunk and Anderson? Use my only free transfer for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to Pedro, so another transfer will be for a hit. 0.3 in the bank. Right, so here's what we know. Anderson is out for a few games, according to Marco Silva, so definitely not playing this week. Lewis Dunk is available for Brighton. I don't think he'll start. Lewis, Vardy, surely at least one of them starts, but maybe not both. Gabriel, there's a doubt about. You hold on to Dunk for this. You're not binning now in case he does come back in the team, right? Anderson, jeez, we're going to move it to 0.3 in the bank, not a lot. Van Heck's the best choice. You don't want to go double Brighton, but it does secure you one or the other. and you might get both. Double Brighton clean sheet this week. Maybe. There's not a lot else to go to. It's a week late for Lewis Hall, it feels like. Kirkes, not for a hit, man. No, any of them worth a hit? Not at that price bracket, really. Unless you know what you want. Like, if you said to me, like, do you know what? I'm going to take a hit for Levi Colwell because I know I want him for the long term. Then I'm, okay, fine. Otherwise, bit of shit, innit? Zara Kennedy says, hey, James, love your content as always. I'm totally stuck overthinking my front line. Cunha, Delap, Pedro, do I stick or twist? I've got 5.4 million in the bank. Help a girl out. I will do my best, Zara, and I would say probably as you are this week, I'd probably stick with that. Good couple of fixtures still coming up for Delap and Cunha, and obviously João Pedro as well. Yes, there are other forwards that are desirable, but they carry risk. You feel like you're a week late for Isak. Havertz didn't start the last one. Watkins is the one maybe to go to, maybe in this in Gameweek 14, but not this week. Solanke, no, at this stage. So I'd probably stick, Zara. Yeah, see how you get on. JP says, hi mate, who would you bring in for Konate? No Arsenal slot left, and I have 8 Norrie, Gabriel, Robinson and Hall. I'd be going Jan-Paul Van Heck, probably. I know there'll be a temptation for some. Pedro Porro hauled last week, and he's a similar price. I wouldn't do that. Van Heck maybe, or Kirkheads, and think about moving that money about. But I'd also totally get you maybe want to stay at that value. I think you could say Gomez is one answer, but that feels wrong. I feel like the best thing to do with Gomez, if that's where you want to go, is 4.8. There's nothing likely to happen in the next 2 where he's going to like steam up in price. Take the next couple of games to source the information to find out, are we sure that's first choice? I'm pretty sure he will play over Quansah, but imagine if we're wrong and it is Quansah. Then we're all going there, aren't we? So I think if you're moving there at the moment, JP, I think probably Van Heck, because the timing is right for Brighton. If you are really fruity and want to take the chance, you could obviously punt Purvis Estupiñán for a little bit, but I'd be assessing that week to week if you make that choice. Brian Lee says, hi James, Solanke to João Pedro this week, or roll and do Solanke and Bumo to sub 5.5 million forward and Saka next week. Any other moves will need a hit to get Saka in short term. Understand. Well, I'll set it to you like this, Brian. Yes, I would buy Pedro for Solanke. And I'll probably be taking a hit for Saka probably next week myself, unless Jackson gets booked this week. So, yeah, I'd get it done, honestly. Cherie MC says, hi James, thanks for your thoughts on free hit, free forward you like. I mean, I like the three I've got, right? Jackson, João Pedro, Isak. Cunha's the one I don't have, where I'm like, but I'm not changing it. So there you go, there's 4 for you. Darko Taran Dex says, hi James, best replacement for Foden, 1 free transfer, no funds to get Salah. Already have Palmer, thanks and good luck. I mean, it sounds like Bukayo Saka, mate. Don't know who else to answer that. Simon Baker says, hello James, please can you timestamp this? I've always wanted my very own timestamp. Who's more likely to smash Yoppo this week, Chelsea or Arsenal? Cheers. Your very own timestamp, it is 5:42 PM, mate, UK time, Friday, November the 29th. And unfortunately, Arsenal are more likely to smash West Ham than Chelsea to Aston Villa. However, they would still captain Cole Palmer over Bukayo Saka. John Harris says, Robertson to Colwell gives me funds to get Saka in for Bumo next week. Yeah, I'm not going to give you a reason not to do that then, mate. Ross Cordingly, Semenyo and Watkins to Saka and João Pedro. Semenyo back in for Bumo next week. We'll have to play Watkins and Rodgers this week if not. There's never a concern playing Ollie Watkins. And the thing with selling, like the moves on the face of it this week, Ross, sound absolutely fine, but you don't want Ollie Watkins for the next 2, mate. I mean, ultimately, that's where your decision. If you're not bothered and you, yeah, I don't care, then do it. George von Schreiber says, hi James, buy Timber this week or roll. By the way, for those looking for Konate replacement, if you don't have free Arsenal, that's the answer, is Timber. Buy Timber this week or roll and play Hall, Gabriel and 8 Norrie with 2 frees next week. What are you buying him for though, George? And why is Man United like spectacularly better, for example, than just now? with I mean, I'm sure Gabriel will play. I'd probably be doing it now, George, but I don't know what you're selling, mate. Greg Frost says Bruno to Bowen in 14 allows me to do Virginia to Allison when he's back. Other goalkeeper Fabianski. It's probably a cheaper way into Liverpool's defence in December now. But yeah, Bruno to Bowen 14, fine, mate. Dan Wilsh says hi, James. Start Anthony Robinson or Wout Faes. I probably would chance Wout Faes. You always fancy my team to score, whatever you think of them, I think. Eddie says, hi James, is Semenyo to Salah worth it from -4, even if I would captain Palmer instead? I mean, well, yeah. That's quite a simple one, Eddie. Like, Semenyo's not going to play. For you to be considering, you obviously think Mo Salah returns. It's a yes, mate. Cherie MC says, thoughts on defenders, Timber or Aina, starting Van Heck and Matsurawi, Man United player, thanks. I'm not sure, Cherie, if this is a start. I mean, either way, the answer's Timber anyway. Dragon Josiowski says, hey James, best 4.4 below defender to rotate with Pau Torres. Dunk likely to start tonight, question. Hall's position secure, question. Lisandro Martinez, question. Other options, question. Cheers. Okay, let's break this apart. So best 4.4 defender to rotate with Pau Torres. So Torres 14, 15 good, 16 okay. Something that sits really nicely, I think, for 12, 17. And yeah, I've got to be honest with you, Lisandro Martinez falls right into that category. Everton at home and Bournemouth at home. But that's fucking boring, mate. That's boring. Lewis Hall, right? You can play Lewis Hall, Palace away, Leicester at home, Ipswich away, and you can play Torres, Brentford at home, and Southampton at home. And that covers you over the next 5. That's pretty good. Then they play each other in the fixture afterwards. Yeah, Lewis Hall, I think, probably, mate. At least it's a week late, but you didn't miss anything, obviously, Monday night. Is Dunk likely to start tonight? I haven't got him in my predicted Brighton team. I see no reason for them to change that. Igor, Julio and Van Heck have been doing really well together. Dunk absolutely could come back in for Julio. I think that would be harsh. I think he's doing well. I've spoken that I think there is a possibility here that Julio actually becomes first choice alongside Van Heck rather than Dunk coming back into the team. But would I be surprised if Lewis Dunk's in the team tonight? No, not at all. Is Lewis Hall's position secure? Yes. I think that'll cover you, mate. Gavin Richardson, hey babes, I know you don't like standing on chairs at half time applauding your team off. I did that once and it didn't go well. I never did it again. But last Sunday, did you do it at full time? Also, does the robot need a software update? My days of standing on plastic chairs, my friend, are long over. Although I did stand on top of the edge of the one in front of me when when the 4th goal went in. But no, standing on chairs at full time, no, that's for people who way less for me and are younger than me. 9Tank7 says bench Isak or Bumo, have a good weekend. That's not no, come on, man. That's Harry, come on, little man. That's just a non-option, mate. Someone else, don't care, neither. Alex says hello, James. 2 free transfers. What moves would you do? Otherwise, players on the 11. Mikalenko to Van Heck, Son to Saka, Wood to João Pedro. Last 2 moves to be made next game week, if not today. I mean, from them, the Brighton timing is now. And Son is still at home this week. Son to Saka is the one to probably just wait one on. Definitely the Van Heck move now, though. Richie says, evening, James. Backline of Nuri, Vardiol, Porro. 4 free transfers plus wildcard left. No other issues in the team. Should I roll and get a mini wildcard or upgrade the defence? Well, watch the rest of your defence, mate. I mean, it's all right, isn't it? I wouldn't expect... They're obviously great offensive defenders. I wouldn't be expecting much from the clean sheet perspective. What's the others, Richie? I can't really answer that, mate. Frederick Hertz says Vardy to Pedro. I mean, all day, mate. Could be Hoyland, but want to give him one more. Would then bench Rodgers. Could argue that Rodgers is just fine to play and fix my defence, where I have to play Dunk, Dean, Lewis as it stands. Yeah. What's going to give you the better upside here, though? Is it covering that defence, or is it Vardy to Pedro? There's two sides to this. One, like I mentioned on the Ask James stream this morning, it's like, fix your biggest problem. But maybe still having Jamie Vardy might be it. Who's the other defenders, mate? I think I'd be making the João Pedro move, personally. Next up is Vivek Gore. Hi, James. Would you play Trent over Gabriel or sell Trent with Konate being injured? If so, for whom? Have Hall, Aitnori and Greaves as my other defenders. Well, I will tell you truthfully that prior to obviously him getting injured against Southampton, my plan would have been to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold now. So I'm still fine with that. Pretty confident he starts at this stage because of the Konate and Bradley issues. For me, it'd be into Arsenal. If you've got space for an Arsenal player, Gabriel, Timber, that order, mate. And I'm going to guess with what you've got, yeah, you do. I'd be going Timber, mate. Woodstock Chris, good luck with this week, James, and everyone. Hit the like, folks. It keeps the lights on and us here. Thank you, Chris. Yes, smash a like, people. Not even 20% of you have done that. Mayor AG, good evening, James. Would you recommend bringing in Cunha and Saka tonight after the deadline for Bruno and Solanke? I'd be priced out if I hold till for later. No. Me and Suj actually had this exact conversation this morning, and he's in the exact same position as you. And he's probably going to do it, I think. It also depends a little bit on what else you got. So give you an example. Saka is obviously particularly desirable for me. I absolutely know I'm moving on Boomo this week, but to do it, I've got to sell someone else to bring it in, right? So it's an early -4. Now in your case, it might be 2-3. That's first thing is a little bit better. But as I said right at the top, if Nicholas Jackson gets booked this week, I'm on an alternative plan. And for me, if you're carrying any players on 4 yellow cards, that makes it a no. To go before everybody's played by one game. I get it on the Saturday, after teams have played. Cunha plays tomorrow, Saka plays tomorrow. If they come through, then yeah, I get it. Tomorrow night, tonight, before they've even played, let's not pretend that Cunha's never had injuries, and let's not pretend that Bukayo Saka will probably be yellow flagged going into next game week. Sorry, hate me for it, but yeah, as someone who probably wants to buy him, I hope he is. JP, do you recommend any cheap Spurs defenders or avoid? Yeah. Don't take the word that came out of my mouth literally. Z says, or Z. Hi, James. Is it worth going Timber and Verbruggen over Raya and 4.5 defender now? I'd probably say yes. Yeah, if I was on wildcard right now, I'd possibly be gambling this Timber stuff rather than Raya. Yeah. Ryan says, hi James, play one of Leif Davis or Vandenberg. Best of luck for the weekend. Leif Davis is just way more fun, mate. Daniel Lund says, evening James, who would you play at? Raya Verbruggen, yeah, on the bench in dilemmas, as well as Diaz Watkins. I wouldn't leave Ollie Watkins out, mate. As much as I think Diaz could do well this week, you get the start out of Watkins. I'll be playing Watkins, mate. Ryan Max says, hi James, we'll bring in both Palmer and Saka. Which one to prioritise this week? We'll move on the other next week. Cheers, have a good Friday. Palmer first. And I know which one will definitely play in midweek, and that was Bukayo Saka. Pontus Johansson says, have a good evening, James. Vardy to Timber for a hit, worth it? Hit, no. Not on a player you think's going to play, no. JG says, Bruno played a deeper role versus Bodo. Is he now less appealing than the other Manchester United assets? Okay. Bruno Fernandes, you're an owner, yeah? You play him this week and you don't do anything else. You don't own Bruno Fernandes, you forget about this now for a significant period of time. You also own Bruno Fernandes. For me, that's a sell next week, irrespective of what position he plays this week. They go to Arsenal in midweek, and there's others coming into good fixtures. Gavin Richardson, I haven't got on that new Bird app to ask FPL Live about whether wildcard transfers, including the live player transfer ins and outs, but I did an experiment and I conclude yes. This one for Ragaboli, mate. Vivek Gore says, would you take a hit to do Sanchez to Verbruggen? We don't take hits for goalkeepers, mate, ever. Vivek, you're always in these chats. You literally know I'm only going to say yes to that if the player you're selling is injured. Murphy says, hey James, Konate needs selling from -4, does he? Thinking Chelsea for the long run, so do you prefer Colwell or Gusto for upside? Mikalenko and Greaves on bench if you advise against the hit. Cheers. If I was going to do a hit, then I'd be doing it for Gusto probably. There's an element of risk on that, and yeah, Gusto is not going to start every Chelsea game in December. Levi Colwell might, and I don't know. Gusto's not kind of a rampaging right back. He could end up playing as a kind of half space 10 position actually within possession. But a lot of his threat and what we really liked last year was him bombing down the flank, and that's just not there. And I'd factor that at this moment. Now, those two players could both be getting bought by me this week. If I was doing that and doing that for the hit, I'd feel, well, I dropped my phone, obliged to buy Malak Gusto, I think, under that circumstance. And I think I'd be making possibly a mistake. Honest answer. For our patrons watching live, whilst I drop my phone, it reminds me, if we've got any team news going about for tonight's game or any other, drop me a tag on Slack and we'll share the information that's going around. I am going to... My eyes are off the screen. I'm just catching up with some messages coming in. I don't think there's anything, just in case, while I answer the next question. Shout out Tim Johnson, Steamroller. Hello, am I thinking that Bournemouth will roll over Wolves? What do you think? On the screen, mate, correct score prediction is 1-1. Jock says Ryan Christie. I know Semenyo suspended. Ryan Christie being back is important for Bournemouth. Jock says, hi James. We already have João Pedro and Solanke replacing Haaland to upgrade many midfielders. Jackson or Cunha as Haaland replacements. I think with that yellow card situation, again, I've said it several times over, I think for me, it's great to hold Jackson because he's a difficult buy for anybody else. I think just go and get Cunha, mate. I think if I was buying new now, it's going Cunha. And he's now about to hit that bracket where he kind of joins in close to Solanke, right? He becomes as close to Solanke as Jackson is to Solanke soon. So Cunha's going to become part of this group. No more Wish J. Wish JC. Next up is Jack Welland. Haven't taken a hit all season, but is it worth taking a -4 to get McNeil out for Saka? Yep. Next up is Reece Ferguson. Garnacho to Saka from -4. It's probably not if Garnacho starts, and I can't tell you if he does or he doesn't. He is in my predicted lineup. I'm suspicious about the amount of minutes last night, quite clearly. And there's every chance it doesn't start. And if you knew he wasn't going to start, you'd do it. I also think Garnacho could do damage from the bench. If you can do it for free in 14, I'd wait. If you're going to end up taking a hit in 14 anyway, because there's something else you got planned, I'd get it done. Let's sell it that way. Adam says, hi James, thoughts on sticking with Haaland and going Foden, Johnson to Saka, Rutter for 2 FTs? Or Foden, Johnson, Haaland to Saka, Salah, Pedro for -4. Jesus Christ, mate. One of the best -4s I've ever seen. Yeah, all day. Benny, I've answered. Otherwise, message me. Joe Pickle, if you were a football manager, what would your ideology be? Eat well, sleep well, drink well, enjoy life, don't get too stressed. I reckon I'd be if I was a football manager, I think I'd be more Mourinho than Ange. That's going to shock you. Greg Frost says, like the stream, guys, and consider joining the Planet FPL Patreon. Don't consider joining the Planet FPL Patreon. Just join the Planet FPL Patreon. You can do it for free. www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. What do I get for free? Well, not a lot, but you do get access to the best bits, which will be posted shortly after the deadline stream today, where you get little clips from all the bits of content we do on Patreon. You can see if you think you're missing out or not, so you can try before you buy. For those who just want to buy, support the show or get the additional content, come on over or DM me. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them. King of Mandalore, Konate replacements for game week 14 and onwards. Start with Arsenal. I mean, I've got to every time go, Arsenal first and then other bits. Short term, you could look at Villa player for a couple of weeks. I think with defenders, you want to look at a little bit longer term. It's Arsenal. If you've not got two Arsenal, it's Arsenal, mate. Toby Evanson says, hi James, hope you and the family are well. Kanate to Hall to fix my defence. Or Haaland and Rodgers to Isak and Saka for a -4 for hopeful points. Good luck this week. Are you inevitably going to end up moving Haaland as part of putting Saka in there anyway? Just for those selling Haaland this week. Yeah, I got you, Benny. Cheers. Sorry, I'm just catching up on messages. Don't shit yourself. For those looking to sell Haaland this week, probably the right move. Those who are regular will know my favourite structure is not to have him. Right? Not that he's not any good. He's going to score goals. He'll have a game soon. It might even be midweek where he goes batshit. And that's the point. Erling Haaland, for me, looks like the best captaincy in Gameweek 14. We do this a lot. Tunnel vision. Boom, now. But who do you want to captain in Gameweek 14? I'm going to captain Palmer at Southampton. What, when he gets benched? I'm not saying he will, but he's got to be a possibility, isn't it? So just give it some thought. Rodgers, as part of that, has 2 outstanding home fixtures against Brentford and Southampton. Now, as part of that, he might also get rotated in one of those 2 fixtures. I'm going to say yes, Toby, but just consider the consequences of after this week. DTAF says, oi, James, hope you're well. I've done a -4 to remove Haaland and Emil Smith-Rowe for Salah and Jackson. Knowing the risk, already own Cunha and Pedro. Chances it goes well over the next few game weeks. DTAF, I've seen you in this chat many times, and if there's one thing you know I probably really, really dislike, is people asking me what I think about their moves after they've already done it. I wish you luck, mate. Druv says, hi James, would you do a -4 for Foden to Saka, or Watkins would start and Foden benched? Again, wouldn't want to bench Watkins. Can understand the desire to move Foden to Saka on. Who knows, you might even be in a position where you're happy you've got Foden in midweek. I'd probably leave it for 3. I wouldn't be thinking twice about it. For the 4, I'd probably leave it for the minute. I would start Watkins. Jacobo Rocha says, would you do Evan Nilsson to João Pedro and get Semenyo for Bumo next week? All 3. Yeah, moving Bumo on next week, fine. You are potentially a little bit late for João Pedro. Consider the Evan Nilsson to João Pedro now if it's for 3. So Pedro now, Semenyo next week. Project FPL says, should I use a free transfer on Fernandes? And who do you recommend? Already have Palmer, Saka, Salah, Rodgers. I presume you mean like sell Fernandes. No, you keep this week, full team. Tim Johnson says, hi mate. Garnacho to Saka now. Wait a week if it's free, Tim. Get her done, mate. Charlotte Frost, would you get rid of Lewis? If so, who for 5.4 million? Anybody with a pulse, probably, Charlotte. Sorry, this is a haunting memory of the Gameweek 11 deadline stream now. 5.4 or less. You can't get Timber, can you? 8 Norrie, Hall, Chelsea players, Kirkes. There's so many to potentially consider. It really is. Timing-wise, Van Heck. But I can completely get if you want to stay near Kanate's value. But I don't think there's anything right there. The only thing really close, again, similar to what I said to someone else earlier, Stupinan. It could be gold, but it could be walking into a problem very quickly. Jurgen says, should I sell Kanate or play O'Shea for 2 weeks? What you should have done, Jurgen, was get them 3 Liverpool players signed onto new contracts before you left, mate. Playing O'Shea for the next 2 is not terrible, but there's no reason to hold Kanate. The word going around is he's out for 5 to 6 weeks. Rowan S says, greeting James, have Kanate and Anderson as the 3rd and 4th defenders with a 4.0 behind them. Where should I go with a long-term view? Already have goalkeeper for Bruggen, Saliba and Colwell. Again, Timber if you can do it in the first instance. Anderson you're not going to get far, so maybe it's a Chelsea player or Van Heck. I don't hate you going double Brighton for a little bit, mate. Still Express says, hi James, 5.1 to spend on the defender. Who'd you like for the run to January? Van Heck. I'm sorry, it's boring. It's saving you a bit of money. He's going to play nearly every minute of every game, I think. He's class. He's not going to get much for fantasy, but he's class. That's James, that's a shit answer. What are you saying he's class, but he's doing nothing for fantasy and then telling people to buy him for? It's just wrong on so many levels. But yeah, that's the one I'd get anyway. They're all on much of a muchness. Here's the thing, right? They're all a bit shit for fantasy. And there's one who's probably not much concerned in terms of rotation coming up for this period. He says when the team drops and it's Duncan Julio. But I'd be really, really surprised. I'd just go Van Heck. It's the right time. I think with these decisions, quite often it comes down to timing, right? So if you ask me, I don't know, in a few weeks, I'm actually going to ironically say to you, Gameweek 19, right, yeah, back to Anderson, right? Van Heck at the moment. Next up is CJ Stuck 07. Have already done Solanke to Cunha. Should I do Saka in for a -4 for either Bumo, Semenyo or Rogers? Well, if you're thinking of getting rid of Semenyo anyway, then yeah, get it done with him being suspended this week. If that's the player you want to keep long term, then don't move it, mate. Can you go Bumo to Saka in midweek? Is it Bumo? Did I read that right? Yeah. Can you go Bumo to Saka in midweek? If so, probably wait. Murray Mintz says, hi James, can you assist me with my benching dilemma between Brennan Johnson and Smith Rowe? Yeah, I can. They're both on the benching dilemmas. I have a sneaky that Emil Smith Rowe won't start for Fulham tomorrow. They might, or not tomorrow. Excuse me, Sunday. They might both not start, in fairness. Yeah, they're both on the benching dilemmas. Brennan, mate, even if it's off the bench. Next up is King of Mandalore. Interested to hear why you have Cole ahead of Vandenberg on the bench in dilemmas. So back in Leicester and Villa both to score. Toss a coin, mate. Well done. Brentford kept a clean sheet last week. They've conceded checks maths. What's the game I'm missing here? No, I don't think I am. 11 goals in their first 6 home games. I think that's right. Largely playing shit. I mean, arguably the toughest opponent they've had in that run is Bournemouth. So, that's why. Chelsea are a much better team defensively than Brentford. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Hanzo Harashi says, evening James, does Enzo starting, according to most Chelsea fans, dent Palmer's appeal as captain? Or am I just building a narrative to bet against him? Cheers and have a good game week. No, actually. I've not looked at the data to know if all Palmer returns better when Fernandes does or doesn't play. But my instinct would be that Fernandes playing is good for Palmer. Purely because when he doesn't, what they've tended to do is move like Gusto in from fullback to a 10 position. Now that obviously takes longer time to happen. Because it takes longer time to happen, Palmer's easy to pick up. Whereas Fernandes is just shoving and then you're moving like Cucurella into a 6 position. So it's happening sharper. The fact that that happens sharper should allow for Palmer to find space a little bit quicker. Whereas when it's Gusto going into the 10 position, there's more time to pick up Palmer. So I would think, and again, I've got nothing to back that up, it's just from what I'd seen in my eyes, I would think Fernandes playing is actually probably more positive for Cole Palmer, would be my take. Next up, Greg Frost. I would play Hall over 8 Norrie in your team, James. That's you, Greg. I'm not picking the team. Have a look at that Wolves predicted lineup of mine. Just look at it. Look at it closely. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Look at it closely. That's not to make anybody panic about it. I'm just saying, just look at it. That's all. And you probably understand why I've made the choice that I've made. And I might be really wrong there, but it will swing round in a little bit. Just have a little look when it comes round. Colin Johnson, hi James. Play 3 of Conser, Lewis, 8 Norrie, Dunk or Fass. Oh God, nuke. 8 Norrie definitely. You're starting Dunk, aren't you? And praying. Jeez, fuck a duck, man. Conser Villa 1-1-0 at Chelsea last year. Yeah. Redrick 103. I took too many hits, so going to play my free hit. I'm not reading your free hit team, mate, but I wish you the very best of luck. Play it your way. By the time I've read off your names, I've forgotten them, mate. Tom Sleeman says, should I buy James Maddison? Definitely not, in my opinion. Mark Penta says, Watkins to Pedro. Again, You want Watkins in 14 and 15, mate. You dirty slot. Has given me loads of players, and again he's asking about a bench boost. By the time I've read the players' names, I've forgotten who's good, bad, but good luck. Generally speaking, I'd say probably not, mate. In a week before midweek fixtures, you could get a little bit of rotation. I would not be doing that. Ben AU says Spurs are literally scoring goals like Prime City, top scoring team in the league with the goals shared around the team. Who do you think would be the best asset to go for? Is Kulusevski a viable one? They're all viable, but you've answered your own question, Ben AU. They're spreading it about. Don't think that will change. Devon Keys says, hi mate, hope you're well. Considering Lewis to Timber, but it would price me out of upgrading Solanke to Jackson / Isak. Faults, already have Gabriel. It doesn't price you out because you probably don't want to buy Jackson on the 4 yellows. He's probably going to get booked this week and miss Southampton, so you don't want to do it. You don't want to move Solanke to Isak in Gameweek 14, so you've got another transfer in between where you can open it back up to move Solanke to Isak in 15. If that's what you want to do. Or Jackson 16. Probably not 16 because Tottenham have got Southampton, but then 17. So yeah, you got time to sort that out, mate. I'd be getting timber in. Barry Coleman says, hi James, have used my 1 free transfer on Haaland to Pedro. Got 10 million. Would you mind us for to get Saka or Salah in for either Bumo or Johnson? Yeah, I really would not be thinking twice about putting Salah in for Brennan Johnson, mate. Dr. FPL, will Sun start after 8 minutes on Thursday? Probably, but as I said earlier in the stream, it's not a guarantee, mate. Not a guarantee. You're asking me like a percentage on Heung-min Son starting, I'll say about 90%, mate. But we're in a period now where really what should be happening is these should all be missing a game each. Because we haven't got enough fit players at the moment. So he's not a certainty. It's not a certainty. Next up is Ben AU. Also, hey James, how's it going? Thank you for your content. You're very welcome, my friend. Yeah, going good. Bit of a cough, which I've had since Saturday, but it's only a cough. Like, it's nothing actually wrong with me in terms of am I ill? No, I just got a cough. But good, and I hope you are too well too, mate. John Ejugru says, please start Vardio or Hall. Refers to benching dilemmas screen. The answer is Vardio, more likely to score, mate. Ollie says, Vista to João Pedro for free, worth it. If planning to move Brentford out in 14 anyway, thank you. This is a difficult one. I'd be loath to do it. And the only reason Vista isn't actually even on the captaincy matrix this week is a little concern that Thiago might eat some minutes this week. He'd be kind of 11th man here, basically, for captaincy. That, therefore, is not really a player you want to sell this week. But inevitably, you do want to sell him next week. If he blanks, you're in, aren't you? I'd do it. It'd be shit tonight when Pedro blanks. FPL embraces. Hey, James, good luck this game week. Would you keep Bruno or sell? Okay, let's keep this week, sell next week. I'm thinking Mitoma. Now I spoke about this on one of the pieces I did earlier this week, that I looked at plans with Mitoma in, and it just, it didn't feel right. He says, I think he's going under the radar, fixture turning beautifully. Anyone else you would get for same less budget as Bruno? I'd be tempted to wait for game week 14 for a more of a talisman like Jared Bowen. The heroic doses says start Leif Davis or Vandenberg. Vandenberg more fun. I get the Brentford fixture, so Vandenberg just about fucking Brentford defensively. Martin Taylor, Welbeck captain for a cheeky punt. He's on there. Look at him. He's 7th on the captaincy, mate. And that probably is the inevitable conclusion tonight, right? Everyone buys João Pedro and Welbeck gets a hat trick. I wouldn't mind, but I don't hate it. Michelle Banks says, James, who to bench? Rodgers or Strand Larson? Thanks, loving your work. Rodgers, quite clearly with the fixture. I know I sold Strand Larson, but Bournemouth at home is a reasonable fixture. He's actually doing fine. Do you know what? In any other season, or not any other season, but in a lot of other seasons, I think he's the sort of play I'd have been happy to go, he'll tick over. He got me an assist last week. He scored against Palace 2 weeks ago. Like, he'll tick over, all right. It's just some of the others have got, for a little bit more, I've just got so much explosiveness in him. I don't think he does. But with the fixtures this week, I would play Strand Larson of the two. Henriette says, good evening, James. Who do you think is the best Boomer replacement from next Gameweek? Really appreciate the content. It has helped my thinking on what to do with 4 free transfers this week. Good luck, Henriette. Next week, okay, I'll tell you players under possible consideration. I will have a closer look again at Mitoma tonight. Sammy Schmodix is a rogue one to consider for a couple of weeks. He's really rogue. He's too expensive, but if he was to hold for maybe, say, Jota's return and then Liverpool's next really good swing in Game Week 18, I don't mind that. Anthony Gordon, the timing feels wrong in midweek, and I wasn't happy with him Monday night. If Harvey Barnes starts tomorrow and does well, that instantly becomes interesting. Harvey Barnes, believe it or not, has got more FPL points this season than Alexander Isak. Yes, really. Semenyo, obviously. Madueke's a little punty. I'd be concerned about rotation maybe in midweek. Bowen and Kudos. There's a lot of names there. A lot. Adam Cooper, hi James. Thoughts on Gusto and Cucurella as options for FPL now? James is out. Yeah, I'm going to skip it, Adam, because I kind of covered it when I was answering for Colwell earlier. I don't know. I want to say to you yes, and even if I do, I don't know which one to say. I feel like the positions that Gusto was getting in the really tough fixtures, like Liverpool away, United away, and Newcastle at home. I think Newcastle at home. I feel like I don't want to be quoted on that now because I didn't watch that game. Were really interesting, but I don't know if it was partly because they were tougher games as well. I mean, balls to the wall. If you had to buy one at this minute in time, James, maybe Gusto. Ryan Bram 91 says Bumo to Saka or wait a week. I think it's a wait a week. I don't want to sell Bumo before that fixture, man. Mikey Austin Riley, with so many putting captaincy on Salah, thoughts on Vissa for differential. What's his XG this game week? Depends how many shots he has and where he has them from, mate. No, I just explained with Vissa my thinking. Prashan says, hi James, took a -4 to get João Pedro and Saka in, thinking of taking another hit to do Edison to Verbruggen. Don't do hits for goalkeepers, mate. Not unless one's injured. Liam Doyle, hey James, would you sell Haaland this week with only 1 free transfer or wait for more free transfers to be able to spread the funds? I want Saka and Cunha already, have Salah and Palmer and Boomer. Reality. Right. If you do not sell Erling Haaland this week, and it's not saying you have to do it, but if you're saying your intention would be to do it, if you don't do it this week, when are you, mate? Villa away 17. Yeah, look at City's 5 fixtures afterwards. Now, mate, I think. Yeah. J Mar BDA says, hi James, still finding myself holding the likes of Foden, Haaland, Lewis, running 1 free transfer. No Saka, Cunha, Salah, Jackson, etc. Any consideration to free hit? If so, what would that look like? Thanks. If you free hit this week, you won't even spend the money, mate. Vissa, Bumo, João Pedro, Mitoma. Back in teams that maybe you got a little less faith in as well, mate. Cunha up front, maybe. I wouldn't be relying on Tottenham this week. No, free hitting this week is a big no-no. I get it. You'd City's fixture's horrendous and then the next one looks better. But I think you're probably at the state that you, with those 3 players, you probably definitely don't want to keep all of them anyway. You might want to stay with Haaland, if that's your choice, then crack on. But I suspect you probably don't want to keep all of them. Get something sorted. If it includes selling Haaland, then a -4 is perfectly acceptable, mate. The Martin says, hey James, play Vardy or Van den Berg, Flecken in goal. Thanks, buddy. Makes no difference who's in goal, mate. I would go Vardy because at least with Vardy, he is an attacking threat. Is it improbable that City go to Liverpool, win 1-0 and he scores the goal? I'd be playing Vardy, mate. Ben Edinson says, replacement for Robinson, thinking Arsenal defender. Is Saliba worth the extra over Timber? Anyone else I should consider? Yep, Timber, get on with it. Harade says, is it worth selling Lewis Mikalenko to Timber for -4? No, not when you've probably got minutes in these guys, right? So play Mikalenko and hope that Everton have one of those days where they scrape a 0-0 or something, right? FPL Cockney Reds, would you do Saka for Rodgers or Semenyo, 5th midfielder? I'm not sure how to answer this. It's not to bottle it, but I might end up with both players, Saka and Semenyo, coming into my squad in 14. So I can do that, right? Got part of the -4. I'm short of Bumo to Saka, right? I'm like 0.2 short. It'll probably be 0.3 short. So I need to find that, probably via Garnacho or via Pedro Porro. It's probably going to be via Garnacho, right? Prime candidate is Semenyo, isn't it? Then the headache in midweek. Oh my God. But then I also think, in terms of like who to bench, but then I also think, well, someone might get benched who I've got, but then it's just benched, isn't it? Like if Palmer's benched, I don't know. Would you still rather even have half hour Cole Palmer at the end, maybe, than like Rodgers? Yeah, maybe you would. It's not like Rodgers is a certain starter either. But then there's the value side of it as well. You have more to play with Rodgers. Semenyo probably dips in price tonight. In fact, I've seen they might both, actually. I don't know if that's an impact to you. Ultimately, it shouldn't, but it does play an impact in our thinking. Selling Rodgers before the 2 after this week does not feel right. Does not feel right. It's so close. Because I've thought about that as well. It's like, well, maybe I come off Rodgers and just stick Dibley in. Because I think for me, once Semenyo goes in, after these next 2 Villa fixtures after Chelsea, I don't really see where I'd pick Rodgers above Semenyo. Certainly not for the rest of this year. And then I think, well, should I maybe be looking at Diblin or something? Having Rodgers good fixtures the next 2 and then going to Semenyo in, say, 16 when they play West Ham, for example. Sort of thing I've thought about, and you think, oh, it's a long way round, James. You can just downgrade Rodgers to Diblin if you need the money at some point. It's the sort of shit that spins in my head. Sorry, just chatting nonsense. Who would I do for Saka? Rodgers if you don't need it this week. That's a reluctant answer. That really is. Alex says, Big J, I need to make a mid-transfer this week and one next week. Saka and Palmer on the cards. Who would you prioritise first? Palmer first, home fixture. That's where we'll go with that, mate. Jamil says, hey, James, best Haaland replacement, no budget constraint, have Cunha and João Pedro. It's a week late for Isak, it feels. Jackson doesn't feel right. Solanke, no. Havertz is a no for me because I don't think he's in the 3 best Arsenal. If it were me, and I guess you're asking me, why I got so like emotional about that, I think I'd go Watkins. I think. To potentially give me alternative captaincy options for the next 2 weeks. And then Watkins can move on to Jackson if the booking's gone, or Isak in 16. I think that's what I'd be doing. And I know that looks wrong this week. I think that's the move that I would make if I was selling Haaland to find money and obviously use that money. I think so. Because ideally, right now, in terms of the timing, it probably is Cunha or João Pedro. You've got both. So look, you're in a luxury position, Alex. Jamil says, hey, James, best... well, it's not actually Alex is in a good position. It's Jamil. Sorry, mate. Alex, you're in a good position as well. Scouse Lee says, 1 free transfer. Matoma in for Johnson means benching Rodgers, Højlund or Emil Smith-Rowe. I think if you've got Højlund, you've got to probably play it this week, haven't you? And keep your fingers crossed, I think. You can look at it 2 ways. He scored twice last night, or you could read Ruben Amorim's comments where he said that Højlund was dead at the end of the game. Not aware of any team news going around, by the way, guys. Patrons, if we do see or hear anything, double check sources. I'm sure someone's going to tweet, João Pedro's benched. Double check your sources, please. And let us know if we've got anything concrete. But I think with Brighton, Southampton being the game, we're probably not expecting it, to be honest. Right, next up, Josh telling evening James. Heard your thoughts on Spurs rotation on the morning stream today. Would you play Johnson or Smith Rowe this week, or do Johnson Saka for -4 this week? I'd take the hit, mate. Yeah, probably. Yeah. But I'd play Johnson over Smith Rowe if you're not, as per benching dilemmas. Abdullah says Darwin Nunes to João Pedro or roll. Pull the trigger, mate. Get it done. Noel Brennan says, hi James, Havertz to João Pedro for -4. No. There's a difference between me saying I don't think Havertz is part of the 3 best Arsenal at this moment, and then taking a -4 to remove him when he's playing a team who, prior to Monday night, we thought were a fucking shambles. Now, they might be in a better position now, but am I taking a -4 to remove an Arsenal attacker when they've got a good fixture? No, I don't think so, mate. Rishab says, hi James, we somehow have the same team except I have Aina in place of Gabriel. I hope we have a good week. I still hold Trent. What do you think I should do for next week? Hang on. I've got the exact same team as you, but I have Aina except for Gabriel. And I still hold Trent. I covered Trent earlier. I think we're still in sell mode, actually. Despite all the things I've said about City this week. And I ain't sell, yeah. Mohammed Ferris Rossley says, would you swap Welbeck to Pedro? No, just stick with Danny Welbeck. We had that discussion on Monday's pod, I think, as well. Sam T says, hi mate, my 3 premiums are Haaland, Saka and Palmer. No Salah, but the rest of the team is set. Should I sell Haaland and Semenyo for Cunha and Salah would be a -8. It's as good as it's ever going to be, but selling Haaland as part of a -8. Jeez. Look, I think Salah. I obviously think Salah will be the top scoring player this week, right? Still bet Haaland to score, I think. But his record in these fixtures hasn't been great. Cunha obviously outscores Semenyo, you assume. The thing is, it probably pays. It probably really does. I think, again, Sam, the answer to this is in what I said to someone else earlier. It's like, what about next? What about 14? What about 15? And if you're like, yeah, do you know what? I've got to get rid. Then get rid, mate. Michael says, why not Son captain or Bruno? I'll tell you what, Michael. You tell the chat why it should be one of them two. Martin Aliaga says, hey, James, would you do Son to Saka? Yep. Relic Returns says, Forster or Fabianski? Jesus. Somebody shoot me. Fabianski. No, if you've got both, you play Forster this week, don't you? Can I just be really clear? Please don't anyone do that. And I mean this seriously. It's not even being negative on those two players, right? Fabianski is injury prone and old. Forster is injury prone and old. Fabianski is first choice. I feel that it could change. It's not going to change in the immediate because he's doing well, but it only take like 1 or 2 bad performances that could change back. And in Tottenham's case, obviously, could buy a keeper in January. Don't set your teams up with Fabianski and Forster. Please don't. One, fine. And the preference is clearly Fabianski to invest in. Rui Vicente says, play Brennan Johnson or -4 to get Saka now. Wait for Gameweek 14 for free. Yeah, I mean, as kind of said for others, I'll probably get it done, actually. But with clarity that you can definitely do it for free. If it were me, I'd probably hold off and wait. And then regret it. Right, Max says, Cunha or Pedro? What, to buy, to captain? This definitely isn't going to be a sell, is it? Captain Pedro. Buy Pedro. The time is now for João Pedro, isn't it? Florian Meister, I have a bit of a defensive issue. Anderson, Lewis, Mikalenko, Greaves next to Gabriel. Would you sell one of them with one free transfer available, considering they also have tough fixtures in Game Week 16? So what you holding? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. I think you might be able to. I don't know what happened there. I couldn't even... Yes, Ian. I couldn't even get into the stream to stop the stream or do anything. So I just lost everything. So down in the internet or something. I lost the graphics, lost everything. So your picture quality might not be great at the moment. I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess it was appropriate time to end anyway. Sorry, you just missed me say that I'd got a message saying João Pedro's benched as well. So sorry about that, guy. I'm joking. And imagine, yeah, look at John says the cartel stopped the stream. Sorry for that kind of shitty ending to the stream, guys. I do apologise. There's nothing I could do about it, unfortunately. I'm happy to do 10 minutes or so if people want to do any non-FPL questions. Content next week, I can tell you there will be a deadline stream on Tuesday. Obviously it's Gameweek 14 deadline. I think that's going to be a 5 o'clock start, I think, from memory. And there'll be a deadline stream the following Saturday morning as well. Game Review podcast Monday and Friday. Wednesday, Clayton and James show. Clash of Correspondence Tuesday and Thursday. It'll be Bournemouth v Tottenham Tuesday. We'll try and get that out really early for you on Tuesday as well. That'll be Neil Grover and Ricky Saunders. Excuse me. And Fulham v Arsenal on Thursday with Lewis James and Adam Pritchard. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/PlanetFPL. We always say do it to help us keep the lights on, and quite clearly, as Greg said in the chat, I need a new PC, right? I can't afford a new PC at the moment, right? So can someone get me a new PC? We need more supporters on Patreon. Do you actually want to support the show or you want additional content? And I can tell you we've got plenty next week as well. If you want to support the show from Intermediate Plus tier, that gets you access to our podcast. Game week previews on Tuesday and Friday. Tottenham Wednesday, Q&A Monday. And Ask James stream actually is just going to be for patrons, and it will be on Thursday next week as well. Again, if anyone's got any non-FPL questions, wants to throw it in the chat, happy to cover a couple of them off. Appreciate those who all said yes, they can hear me and see me. Start being on Black Box for a minute then, won't it? Gareth Pashley, cheers mate. Stephen Carr says, James, I don't know your age, so forgive me, but what are your memories of Osvaldo Ardiles and his testimonial that featured Maradona? Well, thanks mate, ain't that fucking old. I would have been 3 or 4 when that testimonial happened, so my memories are none. But I can tell you I've had the stories from Dad about Maradona obviously playing for Spurs against Inter Milan that night. So yeah, pretty cool thing to have seen, I imagine. Understand Maradona and Hoddle were just taking the piss all night long basically. So yeah, I can't share any more than that, mate. Ian PTSD says, so James, how many concurrent plans do you currently or on average have in the brilliant FPL team map? Oh, as in how many like different drafts? At the moment, none. Nah, just looking at different. There's no point because I'd already made my transfer this early and stuff. We'll have a proper look Sunday night or so, I suppose, before Monday's podcast. In fact, I'd probably more likely have a look tomorrow night. But I do realise a lot of what happens for me this week. I definitely can see Jackson getting booked on Sunday. And from a Chelsea perspective, you're probably thinking yourself, get booked Sunday. That's not to say he'll do it intentionally, but you know, could he just leave one on or bit of chat back? It would probably be a smart thing to do, wouldn't it? And that's gonna. If Jackson gets booked, I don't know how I don't buy Watkins for me under that circumstance this week. I don't know how I wouldn't do it. It would be an opportunity that most others will overlook, and I'd have to take it, I think. So that's going to have an impact. So I'm probably not going to really look until Sunday. What I would say is I have looked already at obviously putting Watkins and Saka in this week, and it's not going to work, I don't think. It's going to be a bit too ugly to put the pair in together. It'll be a -8, so there'll have to be another move. So it probably means Saka waits till 16 for me then, I think, which I'm not against doing, but ideally kind of want to prioritise getting him in now. I feel like he's the one player that I'm really short of at the moment. With Cunha, I'm without Cunha, but I feel like I'm fighting against him with like Jackson, so I feel like I can take it on. Saka, it's got to go in, I think. So let's see what happens in the next few days. But to answer your question, actually at the moment, none, mate, none. Although FPL team is outstanding, and that is brilliant in terms of being able to save your drafts, etc. Lyle Black's selection's already in, but what's your points predictions for Salah and Palmer? Should we go conservative here or not? Should we do expected? That's probably a better way of it, isn't it? Okay. Salah 7, Palmer 6. Is that it? Why did top the captaincy then? Well, maybe Salah 12, Palmer 10, something like that then. Gareth Payton, do you think Pep could resign if City were to get battered by Liverpool? The situation as echoes Douglas 1991. He's had a new contract 2 weeks ago, mate. He played 3 games since then. No, he doesn't have... I understand what you're saying about the Douglas, but it doesn't have echoes of that. He signed a new contract 2 weeks ago. Gareth says, has your dad ever been on a pod to tell some stories? No. Dad, if you're watching, I suspect you're probably not. We can do so. I'd put it on Patreon, though. Yeah, only get the good stuff on Patreon. Greg Frost says, do you think Woodgate and King could have been the best centre-backs of their generation had not been Crocs? Yeah, sure. I mean, the talent England had in terms of centre-backs in the mid-noughties is like astonishing, really, when you reflect on it. There's probably 7 or 8 would walk into the team now, genuinely. Yeah, shame for both of them, obviously. You all know what I think of Ledley King. FPL Spartans, FA Cup second round this weekend. Who do you want in the third round draw? Oh. Who's still in it? A League 2 team at home. To be honest, yeah. Especially if we're still in the League Cup. In terms of a journey, Sheffield Wednesday away is the one I'm looking for now. Would be nice. Yeah. I'd rather do that in like round 5 or something maybe though. Lyle Black says Jackson had a similar situation last year with bookings, I'm sure. Loads of them early and then behaved himself over a big amount of games. So to be fair, someone has been saying I need to correct it, and they're right. So what actually happened was he didn't go ages before he got his 5th booking, actually. He got his 5th booking quite early. He went ages on 9, I think, is what happened. So just to correct that, so actually the 5th booking did come relatively soon, but you'd think he's learned to time his bookings. I'm not suggesting anything. Mustafa Gaming, always great hearing you without asking any questions. Thanks for the great content. Have a great weekend. You too, buddy. Thank you. Ian says, has Harry dropped any bombshells on his Christmas list? No, not yet. I can tell you it was absolutely lovely that he told us what he wanted for his birthday, and the patrons will know what that means. So that's good. No, nothing specially yet for Christmas. He's got a boys' night tonight, so we're gonna have some fun. John says, thoughts on Garnacho to Mitoma tonight? John, leave FPL. I've literally wall to fucking wall FPL for 5 days, man. Don't make early changes tonight, mate. I'll just leave it there. Daniel Clayton says, shag, marry, kill, Suj, Nico, Clayton. Marry Suj, he's got the most money. Shag Nico, he's the best looking. Kill Clayton, he's a fucking gooner. FPL Spartans says, Chef Wednesday way, if it comes out, let me know. I live very near the ground. Oh, cool. Lyle Black says, if you could change one thing about FPL to improve it, what would it be? It's a regular question comes around, and I don't give a shit enough. What I mean by that is not that I don't enjoy it or whatever, but the game will be the game. I can't. No one's going to listen to me. Oh, James said this, do this, like this. People think that exists. It doesn't. So I can't influence it in any way. They've had feedback before from people and generally not listened to it. I quite like the game as it is. I play different formats of games, so I just take each game as that's that game and that's that game. So, in terms of changes, if you want me to generally list you one now, I think the BPS has gone too far in favour of the attacking players, and I think that needs adjusting back a little bit. It does. It kind of adds into the idea of, get as many of your favourite players as you can kind of gig. But no, I think that the skill in the FPL should be about, if you want to go big at the back, and these being a conversation thing, I think the BPS has, along with less clean sheets, I think over the last 18 months or so, means that they need to spin some of that BPS back a bit. Not a lot, because I think majority of change has been absolutely fine. I don't really want to be critical. I think what they've done this year is fine. I just think they've pushed the BPS a little bit too far in favour of the players who score goals, and I get why they've done it, right? Players who score goals get bonus, more points for everyone, more bigger averages generally, yay. But I think if there was one thing, I'd probably just realign that BPS a little bit. But if they don't, I'll definitely still sleep absolutely fine. Okay, I think that's questions done, guys. Apologies for loss of stream for 5 minutes or so. At least it was right at the end of the deadline. I can't tell you what happened now. But I'm going to disappear into the night now. I wish you all to have green arrows this weekend. Please be nice to each other. Smash a like. Hit the sub button. So you'll be back with me for the Game Review podcast on Monday. Good luck, everyone. Bye for now.